What's going on, everybody? This is Raw Dog Sports. I am Mike. That is Evo. Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. And we're going to fucking try to get some money in your pocket. Some of that pizza money in your pocket today. We're going to bet. We're going to gamble on every game. We got a couple games today. We have got an entire slate for the weekend because there was no Thursday football last week of the year. We are heading into the toughest week, in my opinion, to bet. Evo, my man, how you doing? Are you ready to dive deep into this last week to try to give the people some good shit to send them out on a high note on their gambling experiences for the regular season?
Yeah, man, I'm excited. You shouldn't be excited because it is week 18. It is the end of regular season football, which is a big part of our program here. It's the end of our teams playing football and the beginning of their off seasons because we are both out of the playoffs. It is shitty in that respect. And we always hate to kind of see a close to the football season, but we do still have several more weeks of playoff football, a bunch of fun stuff to talk about, and a very, very interesting offseason coming up, which I'm already getting geared up for, getting excited. We're getting into the draft stuff. We got some stuff in play as far as thoughts about changes to the NFL and stuff that we're going to pitch at people. We got fun ideas for the offseason, obviously, but it is a little bit sad that the season is coming to a close. And you're correct. This is a difficult week for betting because you do have essentially close to 18 teams that obviously aren't going to be in the playoffs, but not all 18 teams are not invested in this final week. You have several of them still playing for their playoff hopes, for seeding. You have several of them playing for pride, and you have a bunch of teams that are playing nothing but backups because they are going into the playoffs and they are trying to rest some guys. Very weird, interesting things going on, interesting storylines, and it's going to take a lot of attention to each of these games to try to get a feel for what's going on. It's way closer to the beginning of the year where we don't know what these teams are. You're just going off of what kind of simple stuff did we see in the preseason, kind of projection of what these teams can be rather than going off of the full history of what they've done for this year. So it makes betting these games a little bit more difficult. Probably need to be safer with our bets to make sure that we do well. Betting on the year, you're sitting at 54.6% on the year. I'm at 59.3%. We are in our final pushes to get us over the hump for what we're looking for. You are right there at the cusp of 55%. I'm right there at the cusp of 60%. So we need to have a good final week here to get us over that hump and get us right where we want to be for our season gambling.
Yeah, listen, 55% was the mark that I wanted to shoot for. I'm very close. You are right there around that 60% mark, which, by the way, when you make a goal like that, it's crazy. I'm very impressed, my dude. 60% on a year on your bets is pretty fucking dope. We'll see if we can continue that into this week. Hopefully we can fucking make this a banger week for the people, for ourselves. And let's make some money, my guy. But honestly, like normally when we do our Saturday shows, our gambling shows, we kind of lead in with a recap, but we don't have anything to recap. There have been no games. We have a fresh week. It is fresh powder, baby. I'm ready to dive into some games. But my man, do you have anything that you want to go over before we start getting into all of the games, and especially the two big ass games that are going on today?
No, I say we get into football. We take people's minds off of weird political fucking shit going on in Venezuela and capturing of presidents and stuff like that. Let's get into fucking football because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, because here in a minute, there's going to be some people who are going to hope to play football that probably will not have that opportunity to play football.
Yeah, if you're watching us right now, thank you for tuning in instead of tuning into the Mar-a-Lago press conference that I believe was supposed to be starting roughly 13 minutes ago. Who cares about what's going on in the world? We care about what's going on right now in the U.S. and the NFL. That's what Raw Dog Sports is here for. We'll go ahead and we'll jump straight into our first game. We get all of our lines, all of our spreads, everything off of FanDuel. Not a sponsor. Could be.
Should be.
And you absolutely should. FanDuel, take a look back at all of our weeks of sponsorships that we've had. We do a really great job here to make sure to put the best foot forward of your business. Love doing that for our sponsors. But our first game up, Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This one is for the NFC South. Kind of. It's the first leg that needs to fall here. Tampa Bay at home is favored -3 points at -102 odds. Over under a 43.5 points. If the Panthers win this game, they win the division. If the Bucs win this game, they still need a little bit of help from the Falcons game, Falcons and Saints. But we're focusing just on this game right now, right here. Mike, Tampa has had a very bad end of the year. They looked hot. Things have fallen apart. Baker hasn't been playing great. Carolina Panthers can't decide if they want to be a professional football team on a week-to-week basis. Very close to another one of their division mates there in the Atlanta Falcons, who are the ones that kind of are holding their life in limbo as well. Are the Panthers going to be able to go out there and get this win to just kind of secure the division, or is Baker going to make one last ploy to try to get his Bucs there into the playoffs?
Wow. Neither one of these teams are very good, especially down here at the stretch. They've been really bad. Baker's been worse than Bryce Young. But a couple weeks ago, I mean, Panthers get a win against the Bucs, 23-20. I think that both of them are playing pretty bad on both sides. I think there's a potential, because we already saw it once, that they can score at least 43 points. I think we could see more than 43 in this game, because that was a sloppy game. This game is going to matter. I think there's going to be an uptick in play. You would hope that there's a fucking uptick in play when you're playing for a division. So I'm going to take an over here, over 43.5 in a game that I hope kind of starts the weekend off right. We get a fun game, banger game where we get some fucking points, because honestly, neither one of these defenses has been capable of stopping anybody on a consistent basis. Their offenses have stopped themselves more often than not. This is what's going on with these two teams. So I'm going over here.
All right. I kind of like that. There's no future for these teams past tomorrow. They need to both win, so all the stops will get pulled out. And so I like the potential for there to be a high scoring game. I'm going to go with Carolina plus the points. I actually like Carolina on the money line at plus 130 odds. But at this point, it doesn't really matter if you get the points or not. Like, Carolina just needs to win to be in. They hold their future in their hands. And while the NFL script writers, I think, would like the Bucs to win, and then everyone have to tune into the Falcons Saints game, which just sounds like a terrible game that you have to tune into if you're another fan base. I think Carolina just kind of writes their own ticket here. I don't expect the NFC South to go far in the playoffs, but Carolina has shown more consistently a good brand of football through the entire year, despite having good games and bad games versus good teams and bad teams. I mean, we saw the Panthers go out there and beat the Rams. And I think the Rams still, despite faltering the past several weeks, I still think they're the best team in the NFC. Carolina's shown the propensity to be able to go out there and beat them, whereas the Bucs are just injured. Their defense is bad. We aren't seeing Baker play to the level that he's been playing at. This could be Todd Bowles' last game as the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if some of the rumors are true. And so I'm going to be going with Carolina plus the points here. I like Carolina to win the game and win the NFC South.
All right, there you go. Listen, I don't know who's going to win this fucking thing. It could be anybody. I just hope that we get a decent game to start the weekend. But they'll take us to our game tonight, which I believe is going to be an absolute banger for sure. I think we can have really good football today. But we got the Seahawks taking on the 49ers. 49ers are the home dog. Seahawks are -2.5, over under of 47.5. Evo, this game matters a lot for one of these teams, matters some for the other team. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, so this is a repeat of week 1 in the NFL, where the Seattle Seahawks lost to the 49ers 17-13. This was a game that Brock Purdy played in, but he did not play well. What we've seen recently with Brock Purdy, and there is a pretty high level of play, but this San Fran team all year dealt with injuries. I believe they're technically the most injured team again in the NFL. You're seeing Christian McCaffrey get his back blown out with a Theragun on the sideline.
You doing what now? What the fuck is happening?
Getting his back blown out with a Theragun from a trainer, and tons of fun memes coming from that. And you're seeing the Seahawks play a really good brand of football as they have been all year. The one interesting note there is that Sam Darnold, while they have been winning, has definitely regressed from where he was earlier in the year. Things have gotten a little bit more sloppy. We're seeing more turnovers. And we are getting into that pressure moment where, Seahawks are obviously in, 49ers in, but they're shooting for, seeding right now. So this is a very important game, and it is going to be a fun one to watch. This being at San Francisco versus the Seahawks team definitely matters a little bit, but San Fran is the home dog, which is wild to me. I would expect this to be a lot closer to a pick 'em. But if you go with a team getting 1.5 to 2 points being at home, and San Francisco is still a 2.5-point dog, I find that pretty interesting. I'm going to go with the Seahawks to win this one. I think consistently this year that they have been better. I think that their defense is a hell of a lot better. You've got Trent Williams not playing in this game because of injury. You got George Kittle, I believe, is going to play, but he has been hampered due to injury again. And you've got Christian McCaffrey also not at 100%. I don't think that he plays at 100% at all through the entire year. But this San Fran team is kind of limping in. They made a valiant effort. They've had one of, if not the easiest schedule in the NFL next to like the New England Patriots, which has led them to their record. I don't think it's a fake record that they have, but I don't think it has been as difficult as the Seahawks path to get to where they're at. I like the Seahawks team a little bit better, so I'll be taking the Seahawks on the money line in this one.
All right, so this game is going to decide the division as well. 49ers with a win, lock up home field advantage throughout the playoffs, become the number 1 seed. Seattle with a loss or with a win, obviously, as the best record in the NFC, would be the number 1 seed. So essentially, everything is still up for grabs for both of these teams. Now, Seattle going on the road in the playoffs, I think, is going to be a lot harder than 49ers going on the road. Traveling from Seattle is tough. Traveling up to Seattle is way tougher, it feels like. Having home field advantage for Seattle would be massive in the playoffs. So they want that. I just don't know that they're going to get it, man. I think the 49ers, despite, how boring I have said that they have played really fucking solid football recently. I am taking the 49ers on the money line here, kind of going opposite. I think the 49ers get a win and they wrap up the number 1 seed last week of the season here.
Yeah, look, like I said, I think this is way closer to a pick 'em. So picking the money line for either of these teams makes a lot of sense. It's any given Sunday, man. That's the beauty of football, especially when you have 2 good teams going against each other. All right, next up, we'll move over into our first game of Sunday. New Orleans Saints versus the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons at home, favored -3.5 points, over under of 44.5. You got the Saints with potential offensive rookie of the year candidate, Tyler Shuck. You have the Atlanta Falcons with the resurgence from Bajan. The past couple of weeks, he has basically taken over most stats for running backs, doing a hell of a job. I wish he had done it a little bit sooner for me in the fantasy perspective. But you got 2 teams that are basically playing for nothing personally other than pride. You're playing against a rival in the NFC South, but you do have the Falcons who can play spoiler in this with a win for that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. It might not matter depending on what we think happens in that Carolina-Tampa Bay game. But Mike, thoughts on this game? Are we going to see good Falcons? Are we going to see bad Falcons? Are we going to continue to see the Saints kind of playing a pretty solid brand of football behind Kellen Moore and Tyler Shuck?
I think Kellen Moore is going to lead his team to at least keep this thing competitive. They could win this thing, though. They've been the best team in the NFC South over the last few weeks. Tyler Shuck has played really good football. The Falcons are, I have no idea, up, down. their season's over. You would have to think that they would not mind taking a loss. They have their quarterback of the future in their mind, even though he has fucking robot legs, or he's on his way to getting robot legs. So I think it would mean more to the Saints to get a win. They're not. I feel like they've just played so much better. I'm going with Saints plus the points, though. I don't know if they'll win, but I mean 3.5. The hook really sells it for me. So Saints plus. Oh fuck, 3.5.
Goodness gracious. All right. I kind of like that one. And I think it's a good hedge to have because I picked Carolina to win that game. If that happens, then the Falcons only are playing at that point for pride. I do think that you probably have players and more specifically coaches on that team that are playing for their jobs because Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson, both of them should feel like they're on a hot seat for how good they've played some games this year, and the poor output that they've had on a week-to-week basis brings a lot of questions into play. Specifically, Zach Robinson. I think the OC spot there absolutely should be up for grabs. There should be questions as to what the fuck they're doing because we've seen pretty bad showings on the offense. You have one of the best running backs in the NFL, and for stretches, especially later on in the year, he wasn't really a big part of your game plan. You have quarterback play that is lacking despite talented pieces there. You also have Kirk Cousins, who is set to earn a shitload of money again next year. I don't see a way that the Falcons go into next season with Kirk Cousins at quarterback on that current contract. But you also need someone there because Michael Penix is oft injured, and who knows when he's going to be back from those knee injuries. So Kirk Cousins is trying to put out a resume as well because either the Falcons are going to try to do something to push off a whole bunch of that money into the future, or they're going to have to cut him in order to save something like $45-50 million against the cap that Cousins would be owed. And so Cousins wants to show that he can still be a starter in this league. We've seen it, especially against teams like Tampa Bay, that he's got some juice left and at least a floor. So I think Atlanta could be playing for that. But overall, right now, the Saints currently sitting at 6-10. They're going to be floating somewhere between currently they have the 8th pick in the draft. And they know that they're not going to be working themselves too much higher because the next closest teams, I don't think that they can get any higher than pick 8 at this point. I like the Saints to win as well. Let's see here. I'll go with the Saints plus the points in this one because I think that they do have a little bit more to play for personally. This is a team that is exceeding expectations. So yeah, Saints plus 3.5 for me.
All right. Sounds good to me, brother. And we'll move on to our next game where we got the Cowboys taking on the Giants in another game that is kind of meaningless unless you're talking about draft seeding. We got the Cowboys as the favorites, minus 3.5, over under 49.5, making the Giants home dogs. Where do you go in this one, man? Because this one feels like it's a big nothing burger. This is a tough game to call because neither one of these teams necessarily want to worsen their draft position. They both have holes that they know that they need to address on the football teams. So how do you think this one shakes out, man?
Yeah, so Dallas currently sitting with the 14th pick at 7-8-1. And the Giants, they're probably not going any higher, despite the fact that I guess a Raiders team could go out and beat the Chiefs and make things a little bit more interesting as far as who gets that top overall pick. I just have to go with the gut here. Dallas is the better team. Their defense has played a little bit better in the last half of the year, and their offense is pretty goddamn explosive. So I'll go with Dallas on the money line. They're just a better team. Giants, you have Kafka there who wants to be looked at as a head coach, but a lot of reports coming out this year of different interviews, different people that are going to be interviewed for that Giants job. And I don't think Kafka is necessarily a part of the list. I'm sure that he will get a look basically as kind of an exit interview with him. But I just think that The Giants right now, they don't have a lot to play for. They know they will be one of the top, we'll say, 2 to 5 picks. So they're comfortable with sitting with that since they aren't going to be, probably are not going to be in the running for the first overall pick. So they're kind of looking at the offseason as well. So give me Dallas on the money line.
Yeah, and my man, I'm going to follow suit. Dallas has been a better team over the second half of the season. Early in the year, neither one of these teams were any good. The Giants were better before injuries came up and kind of got them, though. So I'm going to rock with you. I'm going to go Giants on the money line. And you can get that only at minus 190. I think a little earlier in the season or a couple of weeks ago, you would not have been able to get it minus 190 on the Giants because the Giants were just getting throttled. Dart's back. Dart's playing okay. I think everybody's still kind of trying to tell him to stop fucking diving into people, but I don't think it's going to matter. Dallas still, there's going to be some incentives, I believe, that need to get hit on this Dallas team as well in terms of offensive production. So I think they'll go out there and get the win.
All righty. Next up, we have your Cleveland Browns going up against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. Bengals are favored minus 7.5 points here, over under a 44.5. I believe it's still expected to be Joe Burrow going out there. They're not going to put Flacco in or anything like that. Though Joe Flacco has come out and said that he sees himself playing professional football in 2026. So the Flacco story is not over yet.
Indianapolis.
Reinvigorated by that late run by Phillip Rivers. But Bengals coming out here, obviously explosive on offense. Defense played surprisingly better last week, despite, it just being a complete and utter dumpster fire there on the defensive side of the ball. And your Browns obviously not playing for a whole lot other than to see what they have developmental wise. And you do have Myles Garrett allegedly playing for a $45 million incentive if he gets that sack, if he breaks the record. This is obviously his last opportunity for that. I think everyone is watching, hoping to see that. That is pretty much, to me, what this game is about, outside of seeing what else Shedeur Sanders can put on tape to kind of solidify whether or not the team should roll forward into next year with him kind of being the incumbent starting quarterback. So, Mike, your team involved here, divisional matchup. Where are you going at in this game?
Oh, man. So I want to check to see if that is real. Producer Amber, will you do me a favor? Will you check to see if Myles Garrett is actually going to get a $45 million bonus if he gets this fucking sack? Because if that's the case, Myles Garrett is getting there has never been something that is going to happen more in history. If there is $45 million behind one sack, like I cannot imagine that would not happen. Now, the Bengals have been much better. Joe Burrow has been much better. Our defense is still very good, though. Our defense is obviously going out there and will be playing for something. That defense is going to play their ass off until Myles Garrett gets that fucking record. Like, even if there's not a $45 million incentive, the defense is going to go crazy, try to play their asses off to help Myles get that record. So I think that there's a chance that we keep this thing close. Shedeur is also playing for something. He is playing to show that he can be the guy that they should go into the next season as a starting quarterback with. Do I know if we win this thing? No, I doubt it. Because, there's a lot of things that are at play here. This is more than likely Kevin Stefanski's last game as the Cleveland Browns head coach. All of the press conversations this week have kind of alluded to Kevin and the Browns parting ways following Sunday's game, whether that's mutually parting or however it works. So there's a lot of things that are going to potentially work against the Browns to win this game. But 7.5, I trust the defense enough to try to keep this thing close because Myles wants that record so fucking bad. Apparently, it is not real. Producer Amber says it appears to not be real, which stinks. But regardless, they are going to want to get that record done. So I'm taking the Browns plus 7.5.
Yeah, look, the $45 million incentive sounds super outlandish because we're talking about an incentive that is a yearly contract for at least a good starting NFL quarterback. And so to throw that in there is pretty wild when you're talking about a guy who's been defensive player of the year, and has the potential to push for that sack record every year. The sack record in and of itself is history. That is writing yourself in the history books. Not to be disparaging to your Browns, but Myles Garrett stayed in Cleveland knowing that his chances to get a ring are probably pretty limited, right? So if he wants to cement himself as one of the best defensive players ever, which I believe that he's already done, one of the ways to really do that is to get yourself in the record books as the all-time sack leader in a season. So it's a big one. It's also interesting that Joe Burrow has kind of come out and said, like, we saw last week versus Steelers that they talked about, like, we are aware of the sack record. We are going to attempt to make sure that doesn't happen. Whereas you have Burrow coming out and saying, we are aware of the sack record. I'm out here to play football. I'm not concerned with it. Like, we are going to play them normal. And
Steelers lost the fucking game because they were concerned with not allowing the record.
Yeah. And I kind of like that. Like, you should not really care too much about that incentive if you are the Bengals. Obviously, you should have in the back of your head that they're going to be, your Browns are going to be geared up to try to make this happen. Sure. Same way that in my game, we've got players who are trying to hit 1,000 yards receiving. The other team should be aware of that and try to counter it. That's smart, but also you shouldn't build a game plan necessarily around it. I do think that your Browns could possibly keep this one close. Safe bet for me is Cincinnati winning. That's where I'm going to go, Cincinnati on the money line. But I do think that there's potential for you guys to keep it close. And this is kind of, again, it's a last-ditch thing. Like, put everything you can on film. Let Shedeur go out there and kind of ball out. So we could see a little bit more interesting play calling, something out of the norm possibly, to try to let him put a little bit more on tape to see what they got.
Absolutely. So something I want to bring up, some of the things that we kind of missed in the earlier games. Panthers game, Rico Dowdle, incentives, 7 scrimmage yards and 1 touchdown. He's going to get $500,000 and an extra $250 for the touchdown. So he has the potential to make an extra $750,000 today.
Also, he is a free agent again going into next year. So
should be paid.
This is him putting up more of a resume as well to show, hey, my previous year in Dallas was really good. Not a fluke. I showed this year that when giving more of a starting role, I can be a starting running back in the league and deserve to be paid like that.
Kendrick Bourne in that 49ers game needs 7 catches, 49 yards, can earn himself an extra $750,000. And then Juwan Jennings in that 49ers game needs 9 receptions. He can get $666,666. Why we landed on that number is beyond me, but cool. So I'll make sure that we keep track of the games that are going forward as well on incentives coming up. But my man, you ready for the next game?
Yeah, let's do it. This one is my game, Green Bay Packers versus Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Big rivalry game here. Vikings are favored -8.5 points. That is because the Green Bay Packers are playing Clayton Tune at quarterback. No Malik Willis, no Jordan Love. Desmond Ridder got picked up practice squad and will probably be their designated backup. They have come out as early as last week and said that they will basically be resting starters. They also have a bunch of offensive linemen who are injured and ruled out for the game, not just healthy scratches. So this Green Bay team, no Micah Parsons, they're lacking a lot of their offensive pieces and going to be resting a lot of those guys. You saw Christian Watson come back and how he's been very impactful in the passing game to this team. I don't expect him to play very much, if at all, because last year, I believe it was week 17 or 18 that he went down with another ACL tear. If they want to have hope in the playoffs, they need to have a receiving guy like that out there, not on the bench or in the tub. And then for my Vikings, we have a lot to play for. Like pride-wise, seeing what JJ McCarthy has, and to get a winning record on the year. It's very interesting. If a couple things had gone differently this year, the Vikings right now would be playing for a playoff spot. If the Packers hadn't been a bunch of pussies and played for that tie, this game would be for their playoff spot between the Vikings and the Packers. If the Vikings hadn't given up a very long return to the Bears in their second game versus them and had ended up winning that game at the end, they would be playing for a playoff spot. The Vikings would be playing for a playoff spot in some other NFC divisions right now. Despite how rocky a year as it has been for them. They're on a 4-game win streak, trying to cap off the year with a win to break their 8.5 game projection on the sports books of over-under wins for the year, which I do have a healthy amount of money on for them to have exceeded 8.5 games. So I do have a little bit more skin in this game other than just being a Vikings fan. But the big storylines here for me, there's 3 of them for my Vikings. Oh shit, I'll even say 4. We have JJ McCarthy, despite having a hairline fracture in his hand, no longer on the injury report. He's going to be starting this game. This is his last opportunity to put good stuff on film and show that he should be the starter next year. You have Brian Flores, still not under contract with the Vikings. There are rumors out there.
Get one.
There are rumors out there that the money is no longer the issue, that the Vikings are willing to meet the money needs. Brian Flores has a different issue, which people won't talk about. It has been expressed to several reporters, and they will not say what it is. It is not an issue between him and Kevin O'Connell. They've come out and said that, but there is a concern of his that has to be fixed prior to him signing with that team. Also, if you look at all the different head coaching opportunities out there, none of them yet so far have said anything about being willing to bring him in for an interview for a head coaching spot, which leads me to believe that the lawsuit stuff is still out there in the open, and teams are worried about looking at him as a head coach. So it's a defensive coordinator role that he would potentially be looking for. I think that the Vikings do end up signing him to a new contract with offset language that allows him to go and become a head coach of another team if they want to interview him for that. But either way, Brian Flores, expect him to fucking mag dump versus this Packers team. He is putting everything out on the field. He's done it the past several weeks, and we saw it last week versus the Lions in a game that didn't matter to us other than for pride. You're going out against a Packers offensive line that is down starters, a Packers team that is playing backups, and Clayton fucking Tune. You saw what he's been able to do versus much better quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, and giving them some of their, if not their worst games of the season. You think that he's not going to fucking go ape shit against Clayton Tune to show the league, I am the best defensive mind in the game. I am worth every penny that a team wants to pay me. Oh, and I deserve a head coaching spot. He's going to go buck wild on defense, which is got to be fucking scary for Clayton Tune and that Packers offense. And then you have Harrison Smith in what looks to be his last game as a Minnesota Viking. CJ Ham, the 2 longest tenured Vikings, in what looks to potentially be his last game. They're going to be focusing on trying to get these guys a good last game. And lastly, Justin Jefferson needs 53 yards in order to get 1,000 yards. If he gets that 1,000 yards, he will match Mike Evans for the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to start a career at 6 in a row. And so I know that that's very important. The Vikings have already said that they're going to do what they can to feed him the ball to try to get him over that 1,000-yard mark. So a lot of things for the Vikings where it feels like they're just going to go balls out. And I think that they're probably going to go to, we've seen a muted game script for my Vikings to an extent. A lot of 12 and 13 personnel looks more run heavy to make it easier for JJ McCarthy and whatever quarterback's going out there to play. I think that we see them revert a little bit more towards what we saw at the beginning of the year, more traditional Kevin O'Connell play calling, where at that point in time, they were trying to work on McCarthy's mechanics as well. And now they've switched and said, hey, forget the mechanics, just go out there and play ball. And he's looked pretty damn good when he's been out there doing that. But they've also done that coupled with a different type of game script. I think they're going to say, let's see what you got with our traditional offense. Go out there and sling. We're going to see more of the deep downfield passes, more of the explosive attempts. You are going up against essentially a preseason defense, you know, a whole bunch of backups. Let's go out there and see what you got. So it could get a little bit more interesting on offense as well, and try to get to that positive win total, try to get that third spot in the NFC North locked up. So I'm excited for this one. That's why this game is 8.5 points. I think that they absolutely could drop the 8.5 here and win. I'm again, for my record's sake, I'm taking the safe play. I'm taking my Vikings on the money line. But I am excited for this game. In a meaningless game, I'm excited to see what the Vikings are able to do, able to put on film, and see what we have going into next year. So I'll take my Vikings on the money line.
I'm going to take the Vikings on the money line as well. You said it. That defense is going to be crazy because Flores is literally kind of interviewing for jobs right here. And I think that the defense is going to show up and send him out on a high note because he will no longer be your defensive coordinator after this year. I can't wait to welcome him to Cleveland when he becomes our new head coach. I know he's a damn good coach. I cannot wait. I don't know what the problem is that he's gotten, why he wouldn't want to stay up there in Minnesota. Maybe it's a quarterback situation. Maybe he likes Shadur more. Maybe he could come down here and be the head coach and coach Shadur. I would love that. Bring me Brian Flores. I also agree, though, man, you guys should stomp the shit out of Clayton Tune. They're not playing for anything. They are the seed. The Packers are the seed that they are. This is going to get ugly, and I think it'll happen fast.
I hate being this bullish on my Vikings with how up and down of a year it's been, but I think that we are looking at a situation where last week we saw one of the best defensive performances from a team all year versus the Lions. I think we could see that again intermingled with what we saw versus the Washington Commanders, where we, sent them home with a donut. Like, it's that sort of potential game. I think the past 4 games they haven't allowed a field goal. They allowed 1 passing touchdown over like the past 5 weeks. Like the defense is playing lights out, and I think Brian Flores is going to say everything's available, everything's open. We're doing everything. It is going to be kind of a spectacle on the defensive side of the ball, so it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, just come coach the soon-to-be 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. That's all I need him to do. Well, my man, you ready to move on to the next game?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're trying to find the fun in some of these games that really don't matter too much for you. And obviously, we're going to be passionate about our teams with that. Next up, Indianapolis Colts going into Houston versus the Texans. Texans favored minus 10.5 points. Riley Leonard starting at quarterback for the Colts, and an over-under in this game of 38.5. Do you expect the Texans to go out in this game and kind of play a full complementary style of football like this is a regular game? Or do you expect them to know, hey, we are going up against the Colts with a rookie quarterback who isn't much of a passer? This Colts team is out, doesn't have a ton to play for. Do you expect this Houston team, who is already locked up a playoff spot, to really be playing for a whole lot?
Listen, so they are kind of playing for something, because what has not happened is the Jags have not locked up the division yet. So if they can get some help, they could win their division still, I believe. What is their division record here? 4-1 in the division. They're both 4-1 in the division. If the Jags find a way to fucking piss this away and lose
versus the Titans.
Versus the Titans would be really tough. The Texans can still win their division. So they are playing for something. Those games happen at the same time. So yeah, I think the Texans will go out there and play a full complement, a full on, like, we want to win this game type of game. And it's a good thing that Riley Leonard can run, because he's going to be running for his fucking life behind that offensive line that is starting to get banged up as well. The Colts season is over. They know it is over. It's been over for a while. Texans have kind of started to hit an uptick, nice upswing. CJ Stroud has played better recently, and he has started to trust his rookie weapons more. So give me the Texans minus 10.5, because the fucking the odds the other way on the money line were just awful. So I'm going to take the Texans minus 10.5.
Yeah, it's minus 550 on the money line. I am going to ride with the money line. Safest bet here possible. I don't think the Texans are going to play like a slouch game. I don't think this is one where the Colts are going to get one on them because the Texans are coasting. But I also think that they are going to basically shut the Colts down, and that by the third quarter, we could start to see more backups and things like that rotating in, a much more subdued game plan because they do want to minimize potential injuries and things like that. And the possibility of the Jags losing to the Titans, I think that there's a better chance for the Titans to beat the Jags than there is for the Colts to beat the Texans. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But I also don't expect, like, they'll probably be paying attention to that game as it's actively going on and knowing, like, okay, Jags are probably ahead. They're probably going to win here. And now we can just kind of do what we need to do to mitigate any potential negatives out of this game and ride into the playoffs as healthy as possible. So Houston on the money line, double-digit spread always scares me anyways. So I'm not going to be doing that in this one.
I know you hate those double-digit spreads. That's going to kind of lead us into our next one, double-digit spread. And we were just alluding to this game. We got the Titans going down to Jacksonville. Jags are minus 12.5 favorites, over under 47.5. So where do you see it going, man? Do the Jags beat the brakes off the fucking Titans? Jags still playing for a lot, potentially playing for the number one overall seed. So they are going to be playing their guys. Titans playing better recently. Cam Ward is a fucking wild man. Where do you see it going?
Yeah, look, the Titans have played better, I would say, the past 4 weeks. They have a win versus your Browns. They got a win versus the Chiefs. A closer game, at least at the end of the score, versus the 49ers, 37-24, which was some garbage time stuff. And a game that they almost won versus the Saints last week. The Saints kind of ended up jumping ahead at the end there, 34-26. But they've been playing a little bit closer. I still don't think they're a good team, obviously. But for me, like 12.5 point spread is a tough one. It's a scary one. And I do also think that Jags playing good offense. They're playing good defense. They will get ahead in this game. And they will do just enough to kind of stay ahead. Where I think that this 12.5 point spread, if this is a week 14 game, makes a lot more sense compared to a week 18 game. Because you are going to see a little bit of a different game plan from this Jags team. They'll probably say that touchdown to 10 points ahead to kind of keep that buffer and continue to get the win. Obviously, the Jags do have plenty to play for to lock up their seeding, but I don't think that they will probably try to manage this game a little bit more. So Jacksonville on the money line for me, easiest, safest bet rather than dropping the points, despite knowing that at minus 850 odds, the money line is not one that you want to put on your card.
Yeah, it is not one that you want to put on your card. But a lot of things that you said kind of helped solidify what I was thinking when I was looking at this game. I think that the Jags are playing good football right now, but at times they play to their competition. The Titans have been up and down. I just don't know that we're going to see a really great game here. You said the Jags will do just enough. Just enough to win doesn't mean they put anybody away. Now, Titans plus the points seems like a really good idea. But I'm actually going to rock an under here because I think both teams will just kind of be there. The Jags will do enough to win. The Titans are not trying to win. They still need to improve their team drastically. They could be looking to trade their spot because they don't need a quarterback. So I think this is going to be kind of a ho-hum crap game. Give me under 47.5 here.
I didn't even really consider the over-under because I like to focus more on the spread or the money line. But the under of 47.5, I really like that. I do. This absolutely could be that ho-hum game that is kind of boring to watch, lower scoring. So I like that one a lot there.
All right. I like it, my man. Appreciate the vote of confidence on that one.
Yeah. It made me kind of pissed. I was like, I should have seen that and fucking gone for it too. All right, next up, Kansas City Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders. You have a Lodican back out there starting again for the Chiefs at quarterback, and Chiefs are favorite on the road, minus 5.5 points. Over under a 36.5. Travis Kelce's most likely last game as a Kansas City Chief. Las Vegas Raiders, I believe Geno Smith not playing in this one. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I producer Amber, you can check. Honestly, I didn't really do much research into this game because I'm going to say the same shit that I said last week. The Raiders are not winning this game. It does not matter who lines up, where, what the fuck happens. There is no way that the Raiders win this game. If they do, Pete Carroll is fired immediately after the game. They want the number 1 overall pick. Tom Brady wants fucking Fernando Mendoza. If they fuck that up, everybody's fired. They are not winning this game. So
Kenny Pickett is starting.
Line. Kenny Pickett starting. Nice. Chiefs money line. That is what's happening.
Thank you to producer Amber there. And yeah, I'm gonna go Kansas City on the money line as well. Though I will say, again, you can look up the current draft order on Tankathon if you want. Vegas Raiders at 2-14 hold that number 1 pick, and then behind them you have 4 teams at 3-13. You have the Giants, Jets, Titans, and Cardinals all at 3-13. Assuming that those teams were to all go out and lose, and then the Raiders, if they were to win one and break their 10-game losing streak that they're currently on, I don't know how that would shake up that top of the order, but it would make it a lot more interesting because you do have other teams.
The Cardinals are in desperate need of a quarterback, even though they have not said that they are in desperate need of a quarterback. They cannot wait to move off of Kyler.
The Jets and the Cardinals both would like to be in the Fernando Mendoza and possibly Dante Moore sweepstakes. Yeah. Though I will say, the Trinidad Chambliss show that we saw from college football playoffs over the weekend, he looked better than he did all year. Like, he is definitely starting to come in his own towards the end of the year. I still think Trinidad Chambliss is a 3rd-round pick, a developmental guy, but he's shown some stuff where you're kind of like, I think that he could be a good development prospect. So if draft season, people get elevated. Guys that were 3rd-round picks all of a sudden find their way into the 1st round, especially when they're quarterbacks. Because
they do.
While they're not playing, people are talking and selling people up, and so it's very possible that things like that could happen. We could see someone kind of try to work their way back in towards the last pick in the draft to get a 5th-year option on a guy. But yeah, look, it would make it interesting. I have thoughts on what should happen with the draft going forward and ways to make the draft maybe a little bit more interesting. I don't think some teams would really like it. I think the teams that wouldn't like it are the ones that are pretty bad continually. But that's for another show, another episode. I would love to go and see the Vegas Raiders get a win here at the end of the year and just shake things up. Chaos at the top. That's what I want. Some chaos at the top. Because when you do get that first pick locked in and that that team needs a quarterback and there's a quarterback that's going to be there that's worth taking, it makes things a little bit more boring from a draft analyst perspective. But yeah, it's Kansas City on the money line for this one, man. Like, with as roughed up with how many players are sitting for this Kansas City team, with how bad they are, I do think that the Raiders will actively do everything they can to maintain that 1st overall pick. And you said if they were to go out and win, Pete Carroll's fired at the end of the game. I think that happens regardless. I think
probably.
Thank you for your service, Pete. Please.
Pete makes it to Monday, but if they win, Pete doesn't make it to Monday. Pete doesn't get to address the team after the game if they win this fucking thing. Pete is fired immediately. He won't make it to Black Monday.
Slap on the butt, a pack of gum, and off to Sunny Acres with you, the retirement home. Thank you for your service, Pete, one way or the other. All right. Next up, Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, NFC North matchup. Detroit Lions, obviously not playing for much of anything right now. You have Dan Campbell, who's going to continually get those guys to try to play, obviously. But it is going up against a Bears team that is quite a bit better here. Bears not expected to be sitting anybody. Bears are favored at home, -3 points, over under a 50.5. I don't like this spread. I expected it to be larger, completely honest, based off of what we saw from the Lions last week, where, yeah, they got an ass whooping, a complete shellacking from the Vikings on Christmas Day. And we know that Dan Campbell likes to get his guys going a little bit more, but they still seemed uninspired in that game. They did seem like they knew their season was essentially over and kind of phoned it in. You're starting to see some cracks in this Detroit team that I didn't expect to see anytime soon from guys like David Montgomery, who's liking tweets about him not being there in the future. They do need to get a new offensive play caller in there. I expected this to be closer to 5.5 point spread, something like that, in the Bears' favor. And so I like the Bears in this game. Traditionally, I would be going Bears on the money line. I'm going to drop the points here. I'm going to do Bears -3. I wish it was 2.5 or 3.5 because I'm scared of that push. I don't want another push on the year, but I will go with the Bears minus the points here.
All right. Listen, I understand Bears minus the points. They've been the better team all year. We've seen chinks in the armor on the Lions, but I gotta tell you, man, is there a better spoiler than the fucking Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell? Is there a team that likes playing spoiler more than that team? I don't know. Listen, I don't know if the Lions have the juice to win this thing, but I know the Bears can score some points. I know the Lions typically can score points. Last week they played like shit. Goff played like shit. Typically when the Lions play like shit, we get a rebound game. I'm going on a kick, man. I'm going over 50.5. Lions typically do not hit that over on a 50-point mark. Lions have kind of fucked their whole trends up this entire year. So I'm going to play into that. I'm going to go over 50.5 in this game.
The thing is, what did the Lions play spoiler to? Oh, you guys are the fucking 2 seed, and now you're the 3 seed. Oh, they're not playing that much spoiler to them. Like the Bears are pretty well locked into being either the 2 or the 3 seed in this one. So I think Ben Johnson. This is also a personal game because it's Ben Johnson versus Dan Campbell, and I don't know that Dan Campbell has the juice to outsmart Ben Johnson's offensive game plans.
That's fine. I don't need him to outsmart them. I just need him to score a lot of fucking points. Hopefully they don't outsmart anybody. Also in this game, producer Amber, thanks for dropping this in here. Andrew Billings needs 45% of defensive snaps played, and he can secure $250,000. So you will probably see Andrew Billings on the field at least half the time, I would imagine.
I mean, if he gets his druthers.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, listen, if this coach tries to take him off and say, no, you're not going back out, that's how you lose a guy. That he says, okay, fuck you. I want out of here.
Well,
when organizations stop guys from getting their money from their incentives, like, it's a bad look.
Also, the one thing that people should note, these incentives, teams can pay the player regardless. If they don't meet an incentive, the team can still say, you're close enough. We'll pay you, unless they're greedy. And so if the Gary Bears feel like playing Andrew Billings 42% of the time and not paying him, it's a bit of a dick move for sure. But the teams can decide to pay it. Like, if in some world the Vikings don't allow Justin Jefferson to get his 53 yards for a 1,000-yard season, and if there is an incentive there, which it hasn't been publicized, but most wide receivers have a 1,000-yard incentive in their contract, I would expect them to still pay it out to them because they've been a pretty good organization about that. So it's just something for people to know that if a player gets close to these incentives but doesn't get it, the team can still elect to pay them the incentive. It's not something where it's illegal for them to do that. All right, next game. LA Chargers, Denver Broncos in Denver. Broncos favored -13.5 points, over under of 37.5. I believe Omari and Hampton not going to be playing in this game for the Chargers. You have the Broncos.
Herbert's also not playing for the Chargers.
Yes, that is true. The Chargers are locked into a playoff spot, and they can't really get much higher in their seeding. So they are in a spot where it makes sense, rest Herbert, rest Hampton, who's been out for a lot of the year. Herbert, obviously, nursing injuries. And the Broncos, they are currently the number 1 seed in the AFC and still playing to maintain that. So they do have plenty to play for there, which is why this is such a huge spread. I like the Broncos to win this game. I hate the thought of them blowing people out because they just don't fucking do it. So 13.5 is a no touch for me because even though they should, based off their record, be 13.5 points better, even though they are playing for something and the Chargers are playing for a lot less, I don't like the Broncos blowing anyone out. So yeah, give me Broncos money line. And if someone wanted to come up with a justification why Chargers plus 13.5 is a doable spread, I'd be all ears. We do have incentives in this game. Producer Amber is coming in with the heat here. Keenan Allen needs 6 catches and 9 or more yards and or 2 touchdowns to trigger a $1.25 million bonus. Adam Troutman at tight end for the Broncos needs 5 more receptions to get to 25, which would give him a $125,000 bonus. Troy Dye, former Viking, at linebacker for the Chargers, needs a sack for a $75,000 bonus. Benjamin St. Juste at cornerback for the Chargers needs 1 interception for a $75,000 bonus. J.K. Dobbins not going to be playing in this game, out for the year with a foot injury, so he is not going to be hitting that incentive. And she says she believes Keenan Allen is not playing, if she's not mistaken. We'll have to look more into that. I think that he was still slated to play.
I thought he was slated to play as well. Listen, I know the Broncos are playing basically everybody because they want to secure that number 1 spot. And then almost, yeah, because he wants the incentives. That's the only reason Keenan is playing, is to try to get those incentives. It'll be tough considering who the fuck's going to be playing quarterback. But you know what? Listen, I don't think it's going to make a ton of difference. You don't have Amari and Hampton. You don't have your offensive line. You don't have your starting quarterback. Where's the offense going to come from in this game? Against a really good Broncos defense.
Trey Lance.
Yeah, for sure.
Trey Lance looked good in the preseason. If
sure,
I think he's there on a 1-year deal again, probably.
He looked good in the preseason. Sure,
he looked good in the preseason, and you're going up against more close to a preseason roster here from the Chargers, who aren't going to be putting anything special out.
Yeah, but but the Broncos, the team that he's playing against, are playing their full complement of defense, and Trey Lance is playing with.
I'm just saying, this is Trey Lance's opportunity to go out there and be just the next guy in a long line of NFL quarterbacks who were tossed off by their first team, and to show, hey, I just needed time to develop. Maybe he's the next Malik Willis. Maybe he's better than Jordan Love.
Maybe, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game because the Chargers are starting a backup basically everywhere except for Keenan fucking Allen. I'm taking under here, man. I'm going a lot of over-unders this week. Under 37.5. Broncos defense shows up, do what they need to do. They get a few points. They could win this thing fucking 28-7, and the under still hits. I really don't think that we'll see much out of this Chargers team. So under 37.5, I like.
All right. Look, I'm here for the conversation next week when we have a big Trey Lance game.
Okay.
I'm here for the conversation. It'll be fun. All right. Next up, Miami and New England. Out there in New England versus the Patriots. Patriots are favored minus 11.5 points, over under a 45.5 in this one. Dolphins obviously not playing for a whole lot. Played a lot better towards the end of the year. Patriots have plenty to play for. Obviously, they're going to be watching the previous game there with the Broncos quite closely to see if they can get that number 1 seed in the AFC. Patriots, much better team than the Dolphins, but the Dolphins have gotten some on people as of late. Quinn Ewers starting again at quarterback. Mike McDaniels playing for his coaching career. Dan Marino back on the Miami Dolphins in a organizational role to help find the new GM. Interesting little play there, taking him out of the broadcast booth or not that broadcast booth. Was it Dan Marino or Troy Aikman? It's Dan Marino that they brought back, right?
I don't know. I saw something about Troy Aikman. I saw something about Troy Aikman doing something with the Dolphins. I thought it is okay. So producer Amber's got us. It's Troy Aikman who's been hired in an advisory role to help with the search.
In my head, I was like, what? I immediately connected it as Dan Marino, but it's not Dan Marino. You're bringing in fucking Troy Aikman? It's weird.
I don't understand why you're bringing in Troy.
Why wouldn't it be Dan?
What relationship does Troy have with somebody in that organization or whatever coach that they are thinking or GM they're thinking about hiring? Because that's the reason you bring in somebody who's outside of your organization. Troy Aikman has never been tied to the Dolphins in any fashion whatsoever. So there's a relationship somewhere that somebody's trying to exploit.
Huh. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird that I just connected that because I know I put that on the socials on the Raw Dog Sports Facebook page that they had brought the guy in. But I think when I saw that and reposted it, I
just immediately
it was Dan Marino. It's got to be Dan, but it's not. That's weird. Look, they're probably bringing him in so that way Troy Aikman can say to the new GM, you need to know something about concussions because Tua has been heavily concussed and I have been heavily concussed. And if you want a tardy boy at quarterback, you keep him there. Something along those lines. That's got to be the connection, right? CTE and alcoholism, drug use and concussions is all a big part of the GM search. Very interesting stuff happening down there in Miami. Anyways, I like the Patriots in this game. I like them on the money line. That's about all I've got as far as stuff on this game. Patriots shooting for that number one spot. Dolphins will play somewhat hard, but they are playing Quinn Ewers, who I thought, again, despite an okay stat line last week, I still thought he looked kind of like ass. And I think Vrabel will try to make him look like ass in this game. So New England on the money line.
Yeah, so I'm going New England on the money line as well. They could easily win by 11.5. It doesn't feel like it's going to be that difficult. But also, once they get up, if they are looking like they're going to win a game, they're going to take guys out. They're going to take their foot off the gas probably. I know that they are in a position to get a bye in the first round anyways. But there is no reason to risk injury late in this game if you are up. So I cannot foresee them going through and just blowing out this Dolphins team, who I think is still going to try to play. Mike McDaniels is going to try to get them up to play because he is coaching for his life down there in Miami or an OC job somewhere else once he's fired.
We would have to do some research on this, but was Belichick one of the guys that wouldn't sit players in the final week of the year? Vrabel obviously very Belichickian with that, but I feel like Belichick was the type of guy that was like, yeah, you're fucking playing. It's football. 18-year-old.
I don't remember if he was that guy or not. Because I know that when they almost went undefeated, the Giants refused to rest their guys in the last week, even though it meant nothing. Patriots also played, but they were playing for history. So I understand why they would play their guys. I don't know off the top of my head.
Also,
if you got any Patriots fans in here, let us know. It was
Vrabel fans in general as well, because Vrabel was a head coach there with the Titans, and obviously they went to the playoffs with Vrabel. I don't think they were ever high enough seeded where they had to worry about sitting players, but obviously there could possibly be some historical context there as to what sort of leanings Vrabel would have as far as sitting players. I think he is, you're playing starters, but it could be one of those things where second half into the third quarter somewhere, you start to see more rotational backup guys in there getting some more playing time.
Yeah, I feel like that's the way this thing could go. So it's why I won't do the points here. And I don't know what's going to happen in terms of the second half either. So that's why I'm staying away from over-under. I expect the Patriots to win, and that's about it.
Yeah. In a game that players are going to be sitting a lot in, you have the Washington Commanders going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Tanner McKee at quarterback for the Eagles and Josh Johnson at quarterback for the Commanders. A fun backup quarterback matchup here. Eagles favored minus 3.5 points over under a 39.5. You've seen a Commanders team that doesn't stop fighting. That's one thing about this team is despite being as bad as they have been this year and being out of it and getting, again, a goose egg from playing my Vikings, They went out the next week and played a hard game versus the Giants, divisional team. They're going to go out and probably play a hard game here versus the Eagles, who the Eagles haven't been blowing people out, regardless of if they should or not. And now they also are playing some backups in this one. It's going to be a Tank Bigsby game. It's going to be a Tanner McKee game. Calcaterra at tight end type of game for the Eagles. And so this one could be a lot closer here, over under of 39.5 points. Mike, thoughts on this one? Where are you going?
So I'm looking at incentives here. Debo has got a lot he can earn and a lot he can play for. It's kind of weird the way this is broken down. But if he gets another 10 receptions, it looks like he can earn $200,000. 93 yards gets him another $200,000. 2 touchdowns earns him another $250,000. So they are going to be looking to try to get Debo his incentive money. The Eagles are so much better. They have so much more depth. Like, even when they're banged up, their depth is really good. I don't know what's going to happen at quarterback, but even their backup running backs, they get enough play with how they rotate Saquon that I just think that they are a better team. I'm going to go Eagles, and I'm going to drop the points. I like the Commanders to try to get Debo his incentives, but I don't know how invested they're really going to be. They have fought their asses off most of the year. But at this point, you're going out there with basically nobody and only one guy with really anything to play for in Debo. So I don't think that they'll do much. I'm going Eagles -3.5.
I'll take Washington plus the points in this one.
Okay.
Same thing. I don't think I agree with the depth there with Philadelphia, but I think that they are going to be a very uninvested team. It is going to be a lot of backups. You're going to have guys obviously trying to play to put stuff on film, like a Tank Bigsby, like a Will Shipley, like Tanner McKee. But you are going up against a Washington team that, again, hasn't quit. They've played good against division rivals despite being bad. This is a Commanders team that took the Denver Broncos to overtime just a couple weeks ago. And so they aren't going to quit at all. And I think that they will look at this as one that they can go into Philly and possibly keep it close. So I'll take Washington plus the 3.5 points, because Philly right now, they are basically locked into their spot. They're 11-5, tied with the Bears, but the Bears have the tiebreaker there. So the Bears are in second place. If the Bears were to lose and the Eagles were to win, they get the 2 seed, but it doesn't help them that much, which is why that they're resting most of their starters. They can't drop any further down than the 3 seed. So the Eagles are definitely going to be in that rest starters type of phase and run a subdued game plan. So I'll go Commanders plus the points in this one.
All right, listen, I completely understand the logic behind it. The Commanders don't have anything to play for. Eagles also potentially don't have anything to play for. I just don't. The way that team is coached, Sirianni and the fucking just his asinine, always turned up fucking personality, I feel like it kind of resonates a little bit with the team as well. And they're going to want to win. So, all right, brother, let's move on to that next game. We got the Cardinals taking on the Rams. Rams are favored -8.5, over under 45.5. Game is taking place in LA. So Cardinals out on the road. Are we expecting the Cardinals to show up, do much of anything? Rams should be playing, I think, a good portion of their guys in this game, because they can also still play for something, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check, but
so Rams at 11-5 here.
Oh no, Rams are done.
Check the division. They're going to the playoffs.
Sixth. They're going to be either the 5 or the 6 seed.
Yeah. I think this is more of an emotional need to get this win for the Rams because of how much they've stumbled in recent weeks. And this Cardinals team, I think that they're going to play the same way that they've played the past several weeks. High volume passing, ass. Otherwise, though, because you've got guys on the hot seat there. You've got coaching on the hot seat. So the Cardinals are going to try to play this game as hard as they can. I don't think it matters. Rams win. Rams on the money line. They're a better team. Rams want this more emotional, positive win going into the offseason. I expect the Rams to kind of get ahead early in this game, and they might actually start sitting guys again by the end of it as well. But this has been a bit of an embarrassment for them the past several weeks to drop these games. For Stafford to have as bad of a game as he did last week versus the Falcons, I expect them to try to emotional vibes this one out, at least in the beginning of the game. So Rams on the money line.
Yeah, man. I'm going Rams money line as well. The Cardinals are crap. They've been mega ass for a while. They weren't good when Kyler was in. Their running game has just been completely absent. There's not a lot needed to go into this one. The Rams should, and I believe will, win this game. You ready to move on to the next one, brother?
Yeah, let's do it. New York Jets, Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Bills are favored -7.5 points, over under of 37.5. Expected to be a little bit lower scoring. And we have another game with the Jets rolling out the quarterback, who I can't even remember, just traditional white guy name. Buffalo Bills, obviously better team here in this one. They are probably going to be looking to try to stay healthy, run the ball a little bit more. I'm not going to put a whole lot into this game as far as analysis as well. Are they a little bit more than a touchdown better? Yes. Should they absolutely trounce the Jets? Yes. Will the offense show up and do that? I honestly don't know, because this is one that they shouldn't have to put a whole lot of effort in for. This is one that the Jets could absolutely cover, because the Bills might not be heavily invested. They're just a better team that should come out with a win. So I'm going to go with the Bills on the money line.
Listen, I believe Josh Allen is playing in this game. And if Josh Allen is playing in this game and nobody else is for the Bills, he's still probably 7.5 points better than the Jets. I'm going to take the Bills -7.5. It's been a long, hard-ass season for the Jets. I think they got a good coach, but they need a fucking quarterback. There's a lot of teams that need a fucking quarterback. Justin Fields did them absolutely no favors. They got a lot of work to do. So I can't even in good conscience imagine that they're going to stay in this game. They have nothing to play for other than maybe a little bit of pride for their head coach, but the Bills are still playing. They should get a big time dub here. But my man, with that, it's going to take us into our last game. Before we do that, though, I want to thank everybody who is tuning in right now. You guys are awesome. Appreciate every single one of you. If you wouldn't mind, please head on over to our YouTube page, like, share, subscribe, or you can head on over to our TikTok, which is another place we are trying to get our subscribers up. We have the vertical view. We have the regular view for those people over who watch on YouTube vertical. So if you watch on vertical, or you want to watch on vertical, go and subscribe on our TikTok so we can start fucking going live on there. But my man, with that, we'll take us into our last game, our Sunday night game, and a fucking banger game to end the season, the regular season, I should say. Ravens taking on the Steelers in a game that decides the division because the Steelers lost to the goddamn Browns. Suck it, Steelers. Ravens are favored in this one, even though they have the worst record, and they are on the road. They are favored -3.5, over under 41.5. Evo, my man, I will let you take it away because I've got some fun things to say about this game. But my dude, where are you going?
I like the Ravens, man. I do. The Steelers, without DK Metcalf, do look different. It takes away their biggest offensive weapon. Their literal biggest offensive weapon in Darnell Washington out with a broken arm. Not going to be playing on the IR. You took away Aaron Rodgers' safety blanket there, and you took away his leading receiver in DK Metcalf because he decided to throw a punch. It's really going to have changed this Steelers offense to where you're looking at Gainwell and Warren as their top guys to try to get the ball to. They already were a very low depth of target type of team on offense. And I think the offense is just going to have a lot of difficulty putting anything together. You have Lamar Jackson back in this game for the Ravens. Derrick Henry with an explosive game last week. If they remember their fucking identity, what they came into the year with, you could see a little bit more vintage Lamar Jackson. And if they want to play in the playoffs, they need to win this game. And if they want to win in the playoffs, they need to see what the vintage Ravens team was and lean into that. If Harbaugh wants to make sure that he stops the naysayers about whether or not he should be the head coach of his football team, they need to lean into what the fuck they were good at and what made them such a dominant team in years past. And I think they're going to do that because they got to see a taste of it last week when Derrick Henry was an off-the-hook player of the fucking week. He had himself a hell of a week. They're going to lean into that again. This is a chance to shut a division rival out of the playoffs. It's an emotional win for the Ravens to say, hey, we've had a terrible year and we fought, clawed, and scraped and cacawed back into the fucking playoff race. And the Ravens will fucking win this game and get themselves into the playoffs. And once you're in the dance, anything could happen. So I like Baltimore to win this game. I will take Baltimore on the money line because they haven't shown me enough all year to think that they're going to blow someone out even by 3.5 points, even if it is a Steelers team that I don't feel great about. TJ Watt expected to play in this game, says he doesn't feel any reservations or anything holding him back from having that lung puncture a few weeks ago. So that will help the Steelers a little bit. But I like the Ravens to win this one and the Steelers to be out of the playoffs.
Yeah. So the Steelers lost this game last week. They lost this game when they lost to the Browns. They lost this game when they had the press conference afterward talking about it. And Aaron Rodgers and his little bullshit crybaby answers. This game has been over for weeks, for at least a week now, because we saw what the Ravens can do when they decide to run the ball. And they learned that lesson before it actually mattered, because now it fucking matters. The Ravens should win this game. The Steelers have, like, you brought it up, their biggest weapons, literally and metaphorically, are out. They're going to have to find a way to manufacture offense. And that team is not necessarily great at manufacturing a lot of offense. What they have to do typically is quick throws to get it out of Aaron Rodgers' fucking hand. He doesn't have a big-bodied wide receiver that he can throw it up to. MVS better have the game of his fucking life if they're going to have any shot in this thing. I just don't see it. I got the Ravens on the money line. Like, the vibes are so bad for Pittsburgh, and I love it. Aaron Rodgers talking about, hey, I might be playing again. I'll decide man, the balls on this guy, because he's played terrible. You want to talk about metrics and all the metrics that Shedeur looks bad in? I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers looks worse in every single one. I don't like the Steelers team. Don't get it wrong. Fuck the Ravens, but also fuck the Steelers. But more specifically, fuck the Steelers right now. Ravens going to win. Ravens money line for me, man.
All right. And look, that wraps up our week 18 picks, our last regular season week of picks. But we're not done. We do still have a good pupper who's providing us a bet for this week. And Blitz has gotten us some nice big wins earlier in the year. And he's definitely trying to send us out here on a fucking banger. This is an interesting one. If you're on the sports books, a lot of the prop bets that you would normally do aren't out there. Vegas is being a little bit coy with their bets because this is such a weird week of football. You don't know exactly who's playing. You don't know who's going to be playing a full game. You don't know who's going to be getting pulled by halftime, things like that. And so you're not seeing as many of the bets available to you out there, but there are some that are available for the grabbing. Blitz grabbed them, put them into his parlay this week, and he's got a huge one for us. Blitz's big bet, plus 1,396 odds on this one.
Ooh-wee.
It's a hell of a big one here. We got Zach Charbonnet, an anytime touchdown for plus 120 odds, which seems absolutely doable because There's only one running back that plays out there in Seattle when you're within the 20-yard line. It's Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah.
He's the touchdown vulture up there. You got Bijan Robinson, over 4.5 receptions for plus 100 odds. He has hit that mark in multiple games here at the end of the year, and Falcons might be playing there to play spoiler. Bijan has had a renaissance towards the end of the year, both as a rusher and a receiver, so expect them to feed him the ball. And Raheem Rocket Sanders, one of the lead backs there for your Cleveland Browns. Anytime touchdown, looking to get one there versus a Cincinnati team that doesn't play a whole lot of defense at plus 240 odds.
Fairly porous run defense from the Cincinnati Bengals at times. And listen, Harold Fannin shut down for the year, will not be in this game, in that game. So if somebody's going to score, you're looking at Jerry Jeudy or probably whoever the lead back is. So if the Browns do score, I think Raheem Sanders is a probably pretty good fucking bet. And you brought up Charbonnet. If they get inside the 20, that motherfucker's getting it. Like, that is definitely happening. I can't remember the last time I saw Kenneth Walker get a goal line carry. And then Bijan, I mean, listen, you want to toss Bijan in the parlay, I'm game for it every single time. Because he's typically going to hit it. So this is it's a big ass bet. 1396. That Raheem Sanders one is definitely the one that's scary. But if you think about who is and is not playing in that game, I think it might have a shot. Blitz would be, this would be a great way to go out. Great way for the season to end on the betting side. Apparently Bijan needs 255 total yards to, I believe, break the single season all-purpose yards record. So that's a huge day, but 255 for Bijan, not out of the realm of possibilities, especially playing the goddamn Saints.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a day in week 18. Look, we've seen weird stuff happen at the end of the year. Alvin Kamara versus my Vikings had a 6-touchdown day towards the end of the year, several years back. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for some crazy shit to happen. But that would be a wild one. But man, that is it for week 18.
Hell yeah.
Our picks for week 18 up here. Again, you can see Mike sitting at 54.6%. I'm at 59.3% on the year. You can follow us. You can fade us on these. There are some of these money lines that for sure you shouldn't be touching if you're on to put them into a parlay because they are wild odds. But these are our last picks for the year in the regular season for the 2025-26 NFL season, Mike.
Oh, yeah. You know what I love? If we don't get any of these fucking right, we still finish over 50%. So we are locked in at over 50%. That's not a bad year of gambling, of making picks. Obviously, we would love to have crazy, crazy high numbers. Evo, you're pretty close, but hopefully we can give the people a great way to end. Maybe Blitz's bet will hit for the people. But, yeah, man, I'm excited. We'll see the way this thing wraps up. We got games starting here in, 4 hours. So thank you to you, my guy, producer Amber in the back. Thank you very much for getting all the information for us today. But my man, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
No, dude, I'm looking forward to getting to watch a little bit of football today. A big day of football for us tomorrow. A lot to watch. And hopefully we'll wrap up a fun season for 18 teams.
Yeah. So listen, it's been a hell of a year. My football season ends on Sunday because Ohio State's also fucking done. So guys, thank you very much. It's been a hell of a year. Thank you all very much. Everybody who's tuned in now, anybody who tuned in throughout the year, who goes back and watches this at a later time, we appreciate the shit out of you guys. Time is the most valuable thing that you have. And anytime that you give some of it to us, we are forever grateful for that. I'm going to give my man Evo one last word, then we're going to get out of here, and we'll be back on Tuesday to recap all the games that were and take a preview look at the playoffs that are getting ready to come up. But man, Evo, finish this off.
And I'm going to echo a lot of what Mike echoed there. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Amber. Thank you for everything that you guys do for us, the program, the show. Thank you for everyone who has watched us throughout the years, who's watched us today, who has helped support us in our first show of 2026. We are truly grateful and thankful for anyone that takes a little bit of time out of their day and watches our content. Thank you for all the feedback, positive and negative. We're here for it. And thank you for making this channel what it is and for helping us grow and reach out to more people. We like to have fun. We like to be a little bit less serious than some of your other podcasts and shows out there. And hopefully that makes us a little bit of an easier watch because we like to engage. We like to be raw and authentic, that raw authenticity that Raw Dog Sports is known for. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us and giving us some of your time. We look forward to continuing doing this forward for years and years to come.
Hell yeah. My man, Evo, thank you. Appreciate you for all the things that you just said there as well. Guys, we're going to get the fuck out of here. We will see you on Tuesday. I am Mike. That is Evo. This is Raw Dog Sports.
See you.